All right, we are here in Studio C with a really exciting performance by Tegan and Sara. They've got a sold-out show tonight at First Ave Main Room, and we're going to talk to them, hear some music, but let's start with some music. So if you guys wouldn't mind playing the song.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you.
That's Tegan and Sara. You guys are in town in promotion of your 7th studio album, Heartthrob. And I gotta say, when I heard Closer, your first single, I was in the car driving, and it was in the afternoon. I was listening to Paul Fletcher. And I got in the car, and it was kind of the last minute of Closer. And I texted my boss, and I was like, who are we playing right now? I've been a big fan of your guys' forever, but I had no idea that it was you. And when I heard that it was Tegan and Sara, I thought, this is awesome and so different. Were you anxious, nervous, thoughtful, or just super excited to go kind of in a different direction with this 7th album of yours?
I think we were probably all of those things. I mean, we have been making music a very long time, where we started writing and performing when we were teenagers, and we've put out 7 records, as you said, which sometimes feels like 700 records. And we've been touring professionally for over a decade. And when we chose the path we did, it was intentional that we chose the indie path. We signed to Neil Young's record label because, you know, as twins and as kids right out of high school, we knew if we went the major label route, we ran the chance of becoming a gimmicky kind of type band. But over the last decade, it's become very obvious that our music is accessible. And, you know, with songs like Back in Your Head, like you just heard, or Walking with a Ghost, we experienced a lot of radio play and a lot of people buying the records. And so just slowly over the last decade, I think we just evolved into a band that could be on the radio, but could also play a folk festival up in Canada and strip our songs down to the most basic roots. And so when we went into the studio and make Heartthrob, I truly feel like it was just the next, you know, natural step for us to maybe try something a little more pop. We have a lot of guitar-driven music, and we just felt like it was time to explore our side of things. I was saying earlier that we always reference all these 80s and 90s bands as our musical influences, and people seem confused because we don't sound like that at all. And then we made this record, and everyone's like, wow, it sounds like, you know, Cyndi Lauper and early Madonna and, you know, Ace of Base and all these things. And I was like, well, that's what we grew up listening to. So I think we're just kind of letting ourselves explore, as we've been around a long time, hundreds of years. So we've like earned the right to try new things.
Were you concerned at all with whether or not your fans, your listeners would go along with you, or did you just know that you could trust that?
I think there's nervousness every time we make a record that people will not care about it anymore. You know, like will not care about the project or not care about the record. And often it doesn't even have anything to do with what we actually have recorded for the album. I'll just think like, what if people just grew out of us, or what if they're not interested in this band anymore? So I didn't necessarily feel I wasn't afraid that people wouldn't like the sound of the record. I just always am. I don't know. I have like anxiety dreams that people don't show up for our shows. Like, I mean, I'm clearly just like, even after 13 years, I still think like, oh God, I hope people come, you know? So I didn't feel that nervous that the fans wouldn't like the new record. I think that there's a natural evolution that happens with every band. And if we didn't put out a record that was unexpected, I think we would be doing the fan base and the potential fan base a disservice.
Is the reaction, which has been overwhelmingly positive, is that surprising to you?
I don't know that I would say that it was surprising, but I mean, certainly the first few weeks, you know, to be on the charts and to sell lots of records and you know, to be stepping up and playing bigger venues is really exciting. So I don't know if I would say we're shocked so much as we're just really pleased. And, you know, but we also we don't take it lightly. Like, we really want to make sure that we're, you know, ensuring that we're putting on a great set. We're playing all of the new record, but we're also playing like 14 old songs and doing a medley of stuff from our early record. Like, we're still trying to remember what our base is, and our foundation is a live touring band, and our foundation is having an intense relationship with our audience and making sure that they know that we trust them and that they can trust us. And so I wasn't surprised that people got in behind the record, and we've been actually coming off stage and be like, oh my God, people are cheering louder for the new songs than the old songs. Like, I'm having some insecurity. Like, I'm like, should we beef up the old songs or something? So, but it's a good sign. You know, Sarah's right. There's an evolution, and you fear that people will leave you behind and move on to other things. And I think that it's important you continue to engage your audience and give them something really great. And I think we crafted something really valuable, you know, with this new record. So
I love it. Well, let's get another song if we could.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to play a song off the new record called I Was a Fool. Thank you. You're such a lovely, quiet, devoted audience. Very diverse. I like it.
Do you remember I searched you out? How I climbed your city's walls? Do you remember me as the vow? How I prayed for your cause? I stood still, it's what I did. Love like ours just never fits. I stuck around, I did hate you every time. I was a fool for love. I was a fool for love. I was a fool. I was a fool. Then you blamed me and blocked me out. How long did you think I'd last? Then you disappeared for weeks to pout. How many times could I pack? But standing still is all I did. Love like ours just never fits. Still I stuck around. I did still is all we did. Love like ours is never fixed. Oh, I stuck around. I did need you every time. Oh, I was a fool for love. I was a fool for love. I was a fool. I was a fool for love. Oh, I was a fool. I was a fool. I was a fool. I was a fool for love. I was a
Thanks.
Like I said earlier, I'm a huge fan, but we have a lot of people here that are fans as well. And so I like to find out what they would like to know from you guys and ask you some of their questions. So
All right.
Anna from Minneapolis, are you in here? Oh, there you are, right in the front. So Anna wants to know, are you guys prepared to sing a Prince song in honor of performing at First Ave tonight?
Well, we actually have a couple of Prince songs in our repertoire. We most often we would do "When You Were Mine," but completely honestly, I will say that my knowledge of Prince was very limited growing up. Our family was not a total Prince family, but we were a Cyndi Lauper family. So the reason why I know "When You Were Mine" is from "She's So Unusual," the Cyndi Lauper record. But as I started to there were certain songs that I really loved that other artists were covering, obviously, of Prince. And I remember specifically I saw Ani DeFranco once do and When Doves Cry, and I saw her do it with a brass band, the New Orleans brass band. And I just remember thinking, like, what is this amazing piece of music? And I looked it up, and it's Prince. And then I remember like growing up listening to Nothing Compares to You, by Sinead O'Connor. And again, like it just kept going back to Prince and realizing that there was something about Prince that was maybe a bit advanced for me as a teenager, but certainly the equation of songwriting made sense to me. So now I'm a huge Prince fan, and I try not to butcher anything that I do of his. And we're obviously just sort of, I think that he's one of the most amazing performers, and but I actually really think he's one of the best songwriters, or at least one of my favorite songwriters living today.
Nice. Eric from Cottage Grove. There he is. Eric wants to know, in a Spin interview, you said the Replacements were an important band for you. What albums or songs were you referring to, and how did you run across their music?
Interestingly, actually, Tegan and I also did not grow up listening to the Replacements. And but when we did one of our first tours in the U.S., we were opening for Ryan Adams across the U.S. And he was so sweet, and he was a big fan of what we were doing. And he would always come in and say, like, do you guys listen to this, or do you listen to that? And then we would always say, like, no. And then he would bring us the records, and so that's how I actually discovered the Replacements was through Ryan Adams. And I think like my favorite song off the top of my head, I mean, I love Unsatisfied, and I spent a lot of really long van drives in the early 2000s just staring out the window, sort of seething and scowling and just being like, I'm so like, and I would just like sing the song. So that's my favorite.
Nice.
Guys, these questions are all for me. It's like, let's get one for Tegan. We got to ask her something about like Pennywise or something.
Well, this is a question that at Sally Ride on Twitter. She wanted to know if you guys had a food truck, what kind of food and drink would you serve, and what catchy name would you call it?
Cool question.
Oh my God. It's an amazing question if I had like a week to prepare. Right. Like, not only what kind of food truck do I want, but what was it? What catchy name? Like, I'm just supposed to like on the spot, like spitball the most amazing idea. Holy cow.
I got one.
Oh.
I got one.
All right, go ahead.
Well, because it would obviously have to be in California where Tegan lives, because I live in cities that are far too cold for food trucks. I mean, we're too wimpy to do a food truck in the cold.
Well, we have food trucks here.
It's too
so
cold.
There's
it's popular everywhere now. People don't mind. They still have to walk outside and eat.
That's true. But I was just going to, you got to roll with
Let's
me here.
Hear your idea.
It's going to be Mexican food with a Canadian flair. So it's going to be Mexican food, but with Canadian recipes. Like it could be like poutine tacos and like roast beef and gravy and Yorkshire pudding taco.
Wow.
You're dying right now. You want to do this idea, but it'll be called,
what's the truck called?
Twin Tacos, and we're the two of us.
Oh God, we have to start another business together.
Yeah. I could be a silent investor if you'd prefer.
Sounds like a nightmare. Okay. Or we could just call it, when I, for like 1 minute, decided that I didn't want to, everyone makes fun of me because they think I wanted to be a DJ. I did not want to be a DJ. What I wanted to do was play music at parties. And
As a DJ.
No.
That's what most
there's a
people
big
do as
distinction
DJ.
because the DJ wants you to look at them. Like there's a whole culture now, like where you look at the DJ and the DJ, like whatever, that whole thing. I wanted to be basically a junior high school, like, you know, dance like coordinator. Like all the kids would line up and tell me what songs they wanted to play, and I'd play it. I wouldn't even beat match them together or anything. I just would literally be making a live playlist. So I did 3 events like that, and my DJ name was Sarah's Sister, which I thought was pretty brilliant. I know. But it could just be called Sarah's Sister's Tacos. Yeah. Which might be better than Thank you. Thank you. Any other incredibly intensely important questions?
No,
push them
it.
towards me.
That's it. I have one more for you. Do you guys ever think about doing separate musical projects, or are you just completely focused on staying together and doing your thing?
I mean, it was about, what year did we do the Tiesto collaboration?
That was like 2008.
Okay. So it was like 2008 that we did a song with Tiesto, and it was during that time period that we started to get a lot of requests to do projects or to sing on people's records or whatever, but it was always really separate from one another. Every once in a while we would collaborate and do something together, and thankfully it would, you know, go over well, and then the next one would come in and we would decide to do more collaboration. So I think what it did for Sara and I was it did prove to us that we could work outside of the Tegan and Sara box, and we could also work without each other and still come up with stuff that was really you know, still could be popular or interesting or valuable or whatever. So I know that both of us don't necessarily ever see ourselves going off and doing solo projects, but we're certainly interested in production and writing, and we do writing for other artists separate from one another. So, and sometimes we define that and we say, oh, you know, Sara wrote that or Tegan wrote that, but oftentimes we still use, you know, the Tegan and Sara sort of name because it's more valuable. Sara's not as valuable without me, and I'm not as valuable without her. Our taco truck will be it'll just be a disaster.
I know, we need each other. It's
just
funny,
like songwriting.
You know what's funny though about the solo project question is so interesting because I do think that there's
Are you going to come out as a solo artist right now?
No, but Tegan and I, we are limited.
Looking for an opportunity to let you know that.
No, I think like we both write so much, especially Tegan over the years was so prolific, and there was this intense reserve of songs that was sort of building up, and I always would think, oh well, maybe we'll both spin off and do something separate at some point. There's sort of like material that wouldn't work for the project for Tegan and Sara, but this band has become so time consuming that it's like having like 10 kids. It's
satisfying.
It's very satisfying. It's very satisfying. But there are moments where when people are like, do you think you have a side project? It's sort of like asking like a mom of 10 kids who's like working 3 jobs being like, what do you think? Do you want to raise Janice's kids too? And do you want to, you know, the family down the street has a couple of cats, stray cats they've been looking to, you know, pawn off on somebody. Like I just almost feel like I have to focus on these kids that I have. That's weird. I wish
weird
I hadn't
you pointed
used the
at your
kids in
body.
my body.
Yeah.
I know, it's just weird. That was an accident.
Got weird.
Gone with that
Got
one.
weird. See, you just let us go one question too long. It gets weird. So,
All right, well, let's get one more song from you guys.
Absolutely.
all right, this is the single Closer that really kept Sara here and not having a solo career because she's now going to have a very satisfying career.
I was close to leaving, and then I said, you know, if Tegan, if you can write something to keep me here.
This is it. This was my pledge to Sara. So that's weird because this is a romantic song. So strike all of what you just heard. This next song is called Closer, and it's about people not like us. Dad, you ready? You're good? Okay. You're good? We've ruined ourselves today, just so you know.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Overhead. It's not just our physical. I'm the type who won't get all so critical. So let's make things physical. I won't treat you like overhead. It's not just our physical, and the tattoo it are so critical. So let's make things physical. I won't treat you like you're all so typical. I want you close, I want you. I won't treat you like you're typical. I want you close, I want you. I won't treat you like you're typical. Here come the dreams of you and me. Here come the dreams. Here come the dreams of you and me. Here come the dreams. It's not just our physical, and the tattoo it all so critical. So let's make things physical. I won't treat you like you're all so typical. I want you close, I want you. I won't treat you like you're typical. I want you close, I want you. I won't treat you like you're typical. I won't treat you like you're typical. I won't treat you like you're typical. All I wanna get is a little bit closer. All I wanna know is, can you come a little closer?
Thanks. Thank you.
They've got a sold-out show at First Ave in the main room tonight. That's Tegan and Sara. Will you give it up one more time for them?
Thanks, guys.
Before we go, I want to give a quick thanks to Brian Thomas, Kaya, and the promotion staff, Eric Denoy, and one more time, Tegan and Sara. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.